How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another budget PC build. I'm going to give some context to why I'm doing this sort of video before I get started into the budget PC list. I'll leave a time frame. You can go ahead and skip to that so you can get to the parts, but I definitely think that this is actually going to be pretty interesting to take a look at, because I was scrolling through some comments on a creator's post recently. I couldn't help but notice but this specific comment that says, please do a $400 Amazon build. I'm struggling. I think that in the marketplace of technology and computer building, if a certain consumer wants a certain PC for a certain price point because they're going to use it for a certain reason, I genuinely think they should be able to buy that. There shouldn't be a certain price point where everyone starts at. Like, it shouldn't be like $600 PC and above should be where the lowest that you should go. No, like, that's the freedom of computer building. That's the beauty of building. Okay, so with that being said, the purpose is to make a really good PC that'll essentially be a console killer that's right for you. All of these parts for this computer will be able to be found on Amazon at the time of recording this video. What's gonna give us our best performance for $400 at this point is an integrated GPU with our CPU, meaning that we're going with an AMD Ryzen 5 3400G. It's basically the best bet you're gonna get when it comes to a chip that'll integrate graphics into your CPU. You're getting RX Vega 11 graphics into a 4-core, 8-thread processor. You can't really ask much more for that for $150. Now, obviously, since this is a Ryzen CPU, I have included a decent motherboard in this computer that will allow you to overclock and not being worried about your computer lighting on fire. With that being said, if you do want to overclock, you're going to get 10 to 15% more performance out of your CPU, and that's including your stock cooler and the same motherboard that I'll be including. All right, so next I want to talk about the RAM that I've included for this computer, because it's very open to a lot of changes, and the reason I'm saying that is because it's very subjective to what kind of games you're going to be playing on this thing. So let's say you're going to be playing a lot of esports competitive games which are not so demanding on your computer. If you choose to get 16 gigs and 8 gigs, you're going to see a huge difference in those games. But when we're talking about titles that are a lot more graphically intensive, meaning AAA games or newer games and stuff like that, you're gonna see a smaller difference if you get 16 gigs or 8 gigs. Here's the thing, I decided I'll leave this up to you since this price point is very low. You can either go with 8 gigs of RAM, which is for an insane deal, 3200 megahertz. Yes, this is dual channel, it's new. For $45, it's an insane deal. Wow! All right. Now again, like I said, you're gonna see a difference when it comes to more intensive games, but this is an insane deal. Or you can also go with 16 gigs of RAM for the same memory speed. That's gonna be around $65, but that's for the people who are gonna play more graphically intensive games. So that's why I'm saying it's really up to you what kind of games you're gonna be playing, what exactly you're gonna use it for. Obviously, we know that Ryzen definitely benefits from more RAM, but that's all depending on you. Moving on to the motherboard I was talking about, it's a Gigabyte B450 DS38. I could have gone cheaper with a $50 motherboard, but the reason I didn't do that is because when you're building a PC, you need to take in consideration that you're gonna probably have this for a couple of years. And at the end of those years in that lifespan, you're probably gonna wanna upgrade. You might wanna keep this computer. So the features that this motherboard brings, like 4 DIMM slots, more USBs and all that kind of stuff, is gonna be a lot more helpful in the long run, and you'll thank yourself for paying extra $20 for that motherboard. Next up, you can't really go wrong with 50 bucks for a 500-watt power supply. For some reason on Amazon, it's really hard to find a 400-watt power supply for an actual reasonable price. It's beyond me. It makes literally no sense, but this is basically the best deal you're gonna buy when it comes to a power supply. And it's gonna be future-proof, which is the best part, because like I said, you're not gonna be worrying about all that kind of stuff a couple years down the line where your computer doesn't really have that many options to be upgraded. All right, next up kind of relies on the budget that you have and how much money you're willing to spend. Buying an SSD and a hard drive is probably going to be way beyond any budget that you're going to want to spend. There are options for a 2 terabyte hard drive at $50, but the reality is that most of us aren't going to use all of that 2 terabytes, especially when you're gaming on a $400 PC sometimes. So I decided to go ahead and go with the 1 terabyte, which should be enough storage until you upgrade with an SSD for $36, which is pretty good value in Seagate's Barracuda hard drive. And finally, I went with a Cooler Master. Since our motherboard is a micro ATX build, it might not look that great if you build it in a full tower build. So I went with a micro ATX Cooler Master for $50. $50 is actually kind of a pricey case, which is why I generally, in most builds that I'll do, I'll leave this kind of to the customer because you can obviously spend a lot less. So if you were adding that up along the way, you'll notice we basically end up with 2 prices simply because I included the option of having 2 different areas in your RAM. One is the 16 gigabyte, which should be $425, and the other one is right at $405 for 8 gigabytes of RAM. Again, I included that just because it's personal preference in case you're going for more frames in certain games that you're gonna play. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you have any more questions or requests on the computer or anything in general, definitely make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Any constructive criticism will help as well. I truly, really hope you guys got something out of this video and it'll help you narrow down a choice into what kind of computer you're looking into getting. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the future. Peace.